Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome to you all to the 10th edition of the India Defence Conclave. On stage and in the audience, I see many familiar faces, those who have been with us since our very first edition in 2016, right up to this milestone year. To all of you, veterans of the BharatShakti journey and those joining us for the first time, thank you for standing by us and helping us grow from a one-portal startup to 3 niche specialized online platforms today. Over the last decade, the India Defence Conclave has evolved from a focused interaction between defence attachés and industry into India's foremost strategic forum on national security, self-reliance, capability building, and technological transformation. It has been a remarkable journey. From its inception in 2016 to this milestone 10th edition in 2025. BharatShakti's vision led to the India Defence Conclave, earlier known as the Defence Attachés Conclave, into a space where dialogue meets delivery, bringing together the armed forces, policymakers, industry leaders, innovators, and global partners in one powerful conversation. Through the years, the conclave has mirrored India's defense evolution, from showcasing indigenous capability to shaping procurement policy, from fostering exports to nurturing innovation and startups, from discussion to execution. Many of us, I'm sure, will remember the moments that have defined the conclave's identity. The debut gathering of defense attachés and service leadership, the rise of Atmanirbharta as a central theme, the participation of successive chiefs of the armed forces, and the steady inclusion of global partners who now see India as a trusted defense hub. We at BharatShakti take pride in the fact that we were the first to start, way back in 2016, the only organization then to bring together Indian MSMEs, foreign and Indian OEMs, the foreign defense attachés under one roof to showcase India's defense capabilities to the world. Today, similar conclaves have mushroomed across the calendar year, but we remain grateful to our partners and delegates for continuing to see value in what we do and for staying by our side through every edition. Importantly, we remain the only conclave that has, year after year, seen the participation of, besides industry stalwarts, all 3 service chiefs, the Chief of Defense Staff, and our special guests, the foreign defense attachés. This year's overarching theme, Future Forward, Building Global Partnerships and Indigenous Strength, reflects the dual trajectory that defines India's defense outlook today. It is about deepening global cooperation, even as we strengthen domestic capabilities, about harnessing partnerships that strengthen Atmanirbharta, and about ensuring that India's defense sector continues to take long strides with both confidence and conviction. We have a packed agenda ahead: 6 knowledge sessions, multiple keynote addresses, and exclusive one-on-one interactions, in addition to the presentation of the BharatShakti Lifetime Achievement Award. You will find the detailed program in the booklet placed along with your delegate kit. And for your convenience, the profiles of our distinguished speakers and panelists will appear on the screen as we move from session to session. I would also like to draw your attention to the information kiosks in the exhibition area. Many of our partners have painstakingly set up these to showcase their products, technologies, and innovations. I urge you to take time during the breaks to visit these kiosks, interact with the representatives, and explore what they have to offer. So before we begin the inaugural session, may I also request your cooperation with one small but very important housekeeping detail. Several high-profile dignitaries are attending today's event, and a security umbrella has been provided for their movement. For smooth coordination and safety, I request all delegates to wear your lanyards provided by the organizers at all times inside the venue. Also, please keep your mobile phones on silent mode during the sessions. And just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you're posting on your social media, please remember to use hashtag IDC2025 and hashtag India Defence Conclave. Tag our handles at @Strat News Global and @ BharatShakti BSI. The event is also live on Bharat Shakti's YouTube channel. So let us all have a productive day, participate actively in the sessions, visit the kiosks, and engage with the speakers and delegates. And later this evening, as we wrap up a day of ideas and insights, let us all relax, unwind, and let our hair down over cocktails and dinner. And now, to formally set the tone for this milestone edition, may I request Mr. Nitin A. Gokhale, founder and editor-in-chief of Bharat Shakti, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Nilanjana. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, Mr. Baba Kalyani, Chairman of Bharat Forge, remotely joining us, the Secretary, National Defense of Philippines, Gilberto Teodoro, also was supposed to join us in a recorded message from Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka's Defense Secretary. Unfortunately, some mix-up has prevented him from sending the recorded message, but we also have his written speech, which he has kindly sent to us. And of course, industry stalwarts, senior defense officials, industry representatives from different companies, High Commissioner, Sri Lanka, my old friend Maheshini Kolone, other diplomats, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure, and in fact I stand here humbled and yet satisfied as Bharat Shakti completes 10 years. We celebrate today the 10th edition of the India Defence Conclave, which began, by the way, and I must acknowledge this contribution of the defense attachés of different countries posted in India, that this conclave or conference began as a DA's conclave in 2016. And for the first 4 editions, it was called the Defense Attachés Conclave. Then as the scope increased, we made it into, or renamed it as India Defence Conclave, because then we started discussing many other issues concerning the Indo-Pacific and the broader region. But as we complete 10 years, it gives me immense satisfaction that 10 years ago, this month, when Bharat Shakti went live at midnight on 25th November, a quiet but determined beginning of what we believe is now one of India's most credible voices on defense and strategic affairs took place. Bharat Shakti was founded on a simple yet powerful idea to provide a platform of ideas and a platform for India defense industry to speak to itself and the users. When we began, there was not a single window for the industry to engage, share its issues, or find reliable information. And we wanted Bharat Shakti to become that voice. One space for analysis, policy, and industry engagement. What began with 3 people, mind you, just 3 people. Me, Brigadier Chatterjee, S.K. Chatterjee, who had just retired from the army at that point in time, about 4 years ago, before that, and Nilanjana Banerjee, who started this program. Only 3 people with a conviction in India's potential for self-reliance in defense. And we quickly grew into a full-fledged media and analysis collective. Over the years, Bharat Shakti has become synonymous with credible journalism, sectoral insights, and informed commentary on India's defense ecosystem. Its readers include policymakers, serving and retired military officers, industry leaders, and professionals involved in procurement and policy making. My biggest satisfaction, however, is that we have managed to maintain credibility. We have never ever compromised on facts or integrity. The platform's growth has mirrored India's own trajectory in defense indigenization and self-reliance, aligning naturally with the government's Make in India initiative launched in 2015. From the first conclave in 2016, inaugurated by then Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar, to annual events that bring together the armed forces, the industry, and as we can see here, foreign defense attachés, Bharat Shakti's gatherings have become must-attend forum for the ecosystem. Now, as we enter its 11th year, we are preparing for the next phase. Plans are underway to revamp industry-focused content, expand the YouTube channels through Hindi and other language explainers and documentary-style field films, launch a new series like Women in Defense, and training India's best on premier military institutions. There is also a push to connect with younger audience, not only through digital storytelling that as we do, but also through on-ground initiatives. We are looking at Bharat Shakti clubs in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which have defense corridors or defense presence, like Coimbatore, Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune, Nashik. As the organization steps into its 11th year, the team remains rooted in its founding philosophy, to be a trusted, insightful, and forward-looking platform that bridges the gap between policy, industry, and people. We may have started small, but we have always aimed high, with credibility, class, and conviction. 10 years on, that spirit endures. The same quiet determination that lit up the midnight of November 25, 2015 now shines brighter than ever, guiding Bharat Shakti into its next decade of service to India's defense and strategic community. At this stage, all that remains for me to say is thank you to all of you, to those who have helped us along the way in completing this decade-long journey. The sheer number of people and organizations that have supported us and continue to support us prevents me from naming all of them. But this packed auditorium is a testimony to everyone's confidence in us. For that, me and my team, now 40 strong, remain forever grateful. As you can read in the program booklet, we have a packed day ahead. 6 knowledge sessions, 2 big interactions, 1 award ceremony. Hopefully, all of you will be able to network during the breaks, establish connections, and carry forward the good work in a collaborative way. Do join us for a drink and dinner at the end of the day to interact more informally. Once again, a hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. And now may I request Sri Baba Kalyani, Chairman and Managing Director, Kalyani Group, to deliver the industry address. Can I have a round of applause, please?
Admiral Dinesh Tripathi, Chief of the Naval Staff, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka, Honorary Gilberto Teodoro, Junior Secretary, National Defense, Republic of the Philippines, ex-Chief Air Marshal Baduria, ex-Chief of the Army Staff, General Pandey, senior officials from the Ministry of Defense and Indian Armed Forces, other serving veterans and defense personnel, Nitin Gokhale, Nilanjana and the team of Bharat Shakti, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to extend my very warm congratulations to Bharat Shakti for envisioning and executing this 10th edition of Indian Defence Conclave with such precision and purpose. It's not every day that you see the armed forces, top defense, policymakers, industry leaders, all under one roof, not just talking strategy, but synergy. That's not just a conclave, but I think it's a statement for the future. Before I begin with my talk, last week was a fantastic week for our country. Yesterday, we had the inauguration of STIC 25. The Honorable Prime Minister was there, and he inaugurated the Viksit Bharat program for 2047. Also announcing a 1 lakh crore R&D fund for the private sector. It's a fund that will be given to the private sector based on projects with a 50-year moratorium. So 1 lakh crores for 50 years would be many lakh crores in that time frame, and that will just bring up, almost bubble up, all the energy of our scientists, entrepreneurs, and engineers who want to make things happen. Second, ISRO launched on November 2nd the satellite CMS-03, also known as the GSAT-7R, the launch vehicle LVM-3M5, which was India's most powerful rocket, nicknamed Bahubali. Launch site was the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. The weight of the satellite was 4,410 kilograms, never done before. And the purpose was military communication satellite for the Indian Navy. So that's why I said, Admiral, that Navy has a lot of credit in this week. The Indian Army exercise Trishul, which is the tri-services exercise, from 30th October to 13th November. Location Rajasthan, Gujarat, Creek and desert sections, Northern Asian, Arabian Sea. Participants, Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. This is the first time, I think, a major tri-services drill has taken place using new technologies, all indigenous technologies. And lastly, the biggest Atmanirbhar message that we got was the women's cricket team winning the World Cup on Sunday with an Indian coach. So it's been a great week, a great Sunday, a great couple of days for India. I stand before you not just as an industrialist, but as someone who has walked the factory floors, seen the pulse of innovation, and felt the urgency of transformation. We are the first Indian multinational in India. Not many people may know that. But this is what we are. Very nationalistic, very driven by Indian technology, very driven by Atmanirbhar mission. Not long ago, an incident brought into sharp focus the critical importance of technological sovereignty. Maybe many of you don't know about this. A reminder that in today's interconnected world, control over technology is as vital as control over territory. A few years ago, we discovered, actually it was just 2-3 years ago, we discovered that the humble attendance machines in our government offices, those little devices we barely ever noticed, were quietly sending back data to China because they had all Chinese chips. Every CCTV camera on our street was made in China. Every phone had chips made in China. And many of these chips are double stamped in Singapore to show that they are made in Singapore. Every drone in our sky has chips made in China. Foreign made, foreign control. That was a wake-up call, a reminder that sovereignty in the 21st century isn't just about borders, it's about bytes, chips, and codes. And yet, in this moment of uncertainty and vulnerability, we see opportunities. India today stands at the cusp of transformation. We aspire to grow our economy from $4 trillion to between $30 to $35 trillion. That's the whole ambition of the whole Viksit Bharat program by 2047, which is not very far away. It's just 22 years away. But this journey cannot be powered by services alone. especially when 60% of our economy today depends on services, which limits our ability to build scalable, value-added manufacturing and a products nation. That was the theme of yesterday's discussions with the Honorable Prime Minister. To truly transform, India must become a products nation, one that designs, one that develops and manufactures its own technology. Just like our cricket team or this big satellite that was launched in the biggest launch vehicle by ISRO. Unfortunately, there remains a widespread misunderstanding about Make in India. Nitin mentioned about the Make in India in 2014. Make in India has often been reduced to mere assembly, where imported kits are simply put together, offering little value addition. In contrast, Made in India demands a full stack capability, indigenous design, indigenous IP creation, and an end-to-end manufacturing without the shift. India risks remaining a service-led economy, unable to build the resilient, innovation-driven industrial base required to be a global leader. The Honorable Prime Minister's announcement yesterday of 1 lakh crore RDI fund is a bold step in this direction. For the first time, we are seeing public capital flow into private innovation. This entire fund is for the private sector, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just funding. It's a fuel for ambition. It's a signal for our startups, our scientists, and our engineers saying the nation is telling them that we believe in you. But belief alone is not enough. We need a mind shift change. We must stop being content with assembling kits from abroad. Screwdriver technology will not make us a global power. We must design our own chips, build our own systems, and create our own platforms. Whether it's semiconductors, drones, or core defense hardware like guns, aircraft, submarines, India must lead in designing and manufacturing these technologies, not just assembling. And we need to do this smartly. Let's identify 20 critical systems we need. Break them down into subsystems, design the chips, and only then close the import doors. Strategic autonomy is not about isolation. It's about intelligent self-reliance. We also need to rethink how we support our startups. Today, a young company with a breakthrough in defense products is asked to furnish a bank guarantee almost equivalent to the order it receives. That's not encouragement. That's discouragement. We must create credit support, reform ESOP taxation, and build a nurturing ecosystem where innovation thrives. And finally, we must look outwards. China's rise with Huawei was no accident. It was the result of a strategic demand aggregation of the state-backed industrial policy. The Chinese government awarded Huawei the entire domestic telecom business, provided massive credit support, and ensured its products were adopted across the public and private sectors. This created a robust home market, enabling Huawei to scale rapidly, invest in R&D, and become globally competitive. We have to replicate this model across its defense and strategic technology sectors. We have the talent, we have the trust of global markets, and most importantly, we have a large domestic demand base. By aggregating government procurement and channelizing it to Indian companies, we can empower them to scale, innovate, and export. Let's give the world an Indian product that they can rely on, secure, sovereign, and build for global leadership. Let me leave you with this thought. When we began our journey in Bharat Forge, that was I started working almost 53 years ago in 1972. We didn't have billions in the bank or global partnerships tied up. What we had was belief in our people, in our engineering, and in India's potential. From a modest forging unit, we built one of the world's most respected defense and engineering enterprise. We made that possible because we had aspirations. As I often say, in the long run, aspiration is greater than resources. If you dare to dream big, the resources will find their way to you. We need a major mindset change, belief that we can design and make in India products with Indian IP. This true meaning of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a clarion call that has echoed and raised the emotional quotient of almost 1 billion people. No better time to achieve this than today. India's defense future will not be written in policy papers alone. It will be written in labs, in startups, in factories, and in the hearts of those who dare to dream. Let's build that future together. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. And now we have a message from Air Vice Marshal Sampath Tuyakonta, retired, the Defense Secretary of Sri Lanka. He was unable to record a message due to unavoidable circumstances, but he's graciously sent a message to us, and we've made a graphic out of it, which we will play on the screen, and I will also read out the message for all of you. Chief of the Naval Staff, Indian Navy, esteemed founder of BharatShakti, Mr. Nitin Gokhale, officials from the Ministry of Defense of the Republic of India, defense attachés representing our partner nations, members of think tanks, defense analysts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. At the outset, let me express my heartfelt gratitude to the founder of BharatShakti, Mr. Nitin Gokhale, for granting me the opportunity to deliver this special address at the inaugural session of the India Defence Conclave 2025. It is both a privilege and an honor to address such a distinguished audience, representing a cross-section of defense and security leadership from India and abroad. This year's theme, Future Forward, Building Global Partnerships and Indigenous Strength, is not only timely, it is visionary. It represents a dual imperative for our region, the need to deepen strategic collaboration across borders, while simultaneously cultivating self-reliance through indigenous capabilities. In an era defined by rapid technological evolution, unpredictable geopolitical currents, and unconventional security challenges, this dual approach is not optional, it is essential. Platforms like BharatShakti, with their focus on defense and security in the Indo-Pacific, play a pivotal role in fostering discourse, understanding, and partnerships. They act as vital bridges between governments, military institutions, industry, and civil society, offering a space where informed debate leads to actionable outcomes. Today, we stand at a defining moment for the Indian Ocean region, a region that remains central to global trade, energy routes, and maritime stability. The ocean has become a critical battleground where traditional threats like piracy now converge with modern dangers such as sophisticated cyber attacks, climate-driven crises, and evolving asymmetric warfare that defies conventional defense strategies. In addition, the world today faces multiple challenges: geopolitical frictions, economic uncertainty, and non-traditional security threats, such as climate change and pandemics. These challenges are not confined to borders. They highlight that no nation can withstand such challenges alone, but we can overcome them together through cooperation. In this context, the Indo-Pacific is the region of immense strategic importance. It is home to diverse cultures, economies, and security perspectives. This diversity is not a source of division, but of strength, if we approach one another with mutual respect and open dialogue. In this background, India and Sri Lanka have a strategic role in regional peace and stability due to our strategic position in the heart of the Indo-Pacific. Both countries have long served as crossroads of trade, culture, and dialogue between East and West. This position gives India and Sri Lanka a responsibility and an opportunity to act as a bridge of peace and cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. We firmly believe that the Indian Ocean must remain a zone of peace where maritime routes are secure, open, and free from conflict. Together, we can ensure that the Indo-Pacific is not a theater of rivalry, but a platform for inclusive growth, security cooperation, and shared prosperity. To address contemporary security issues, future defense cooperation goes beyond traditional joint exercises or intelligence sharing. It means building a shared vision of regional security that leverages both innovation and partnership. It means strengthening trust among nations, enhancing maritime domain awareness, and investing in resilient supply chains and digital infrastructure. Furthermore, the global experience of COVID-19 and more recently the cascading effects of health and environmental emergencies have taught us that national security can no longer be viewed in silos. Health security, food security, energy security, and climate resilience are now part of our collective defense calculus. No nation can do it alone. But just as vital as global cooperation is the call to develop and invest in indigenous capabilities. India's strides in defense manufacturing, technology innovation, and the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative are inspiring models for the region. Indigenous strength is not isolation. It is the foundation on which strong, equal partnerships are built. Local capacity, when fused with international collaboration, ensures both strategic autonomy and mutual interdependence. A recent example of this spirit is the continuing cooperation between India and Sri Lanka on the defense cooperation signed in April 2025. This is a testament to our shared historical relations and to our collaboration and partnership for the way forward. These dialogues have matured into multi-pillar frameworks encompassing not just naval security, but humanitarian assistance, counter-terrorism, environmental protection, and cybersecurity. I'm pleased to note that these initiatives are not only continuing, but expanding, drawing in new partners and new dimensions of cooperation. The cooperation and relationship between the two nations are not new to us. India and Sri Lanka share a deep-rooted relationship built on centuries of cultural affinity, mutual respect, and strategic partnership. Our ties extend beyond geography. They are anchored in shared values of democracy, peace, and regional stability. In recent years, defense cooperation has emerged as a vital pillar of our partnership, marked by joint training, maritime security collaboration, and humanitarian assistance. Together, India and Sri Lanka continue to uphold the spirit of the Indian Ocean as a zone of peace and prosperity, reaffirming our collective commitment to a secure and sustainable future for our region. Going forward, the focus must be on building ecosystems of trust, where data sharing, joint training, technological co-development, and crisis response mechanisms are the norm rather than the exception. These must be backed by real political will and institutional frameworks that can adapt to the evolving security landscape. I would now like to take this opportunity to commend the organizers of this year's conclave for assembling an impressive gathering of thought leaders and practitioners. Events of this nature serve as incubators of ideas and strategic thought, capable of influencing policy and practice far beyond today's discussions. In closing, let me reiterate that the path forward lies in a harmonious balance between global collaboration and national capability, between advanced technology and time-tested principles, and between the vision of a secure region and the hard realities we must navigate together. To all participants of the India Defence Conclave 2025, I wish you a deeply engaging and rewarding experience. May your discussions be fruitful, your networks be strengthened, and your insights be enduring. Together, let us move forward towards a more secure, collaborative, and self-reliant Indo-Pacific. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. I suppose I read it a bit faster, but I think you all heard me, and now I think just a couple of lines left. Sorry? I did well, thank you. And now I'm thrilled to announce that we are joined live from Manila, Philippines, by Mr. Gilberto Teodoro Jr., the Secretary of National Defense, Philippines. Can we pull him up on screen?
To each and every one of our distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a pleasant day. At this moment, as we speak, the Philippines is once again beset by a devastating typhoon, which shortly after I deliver my remarks, I will have to excuse myself to deal with the effects of this typhoon. And hopefully we deal with no more. However, realistically, we will be expecting at least 6 more till the end of the year. I'd like to thank Mr. Nitin Gokhale for inviting me to address you today, the 10th edition of the Indian Defence Conclave. I really wanted to address you in person, and forgive me for not being there today due to unavoidable circumstances. But nonetheless, I think it's time well spent for me, because in the future, both India and the Philippines and the whole Indo-Pacific region will be beset by both literal and figurative typhoons. And we shall have to address the effects of these typhoons, to predict when these will happen and what they will bring us on figuratively and literally, and we best do this together. I first met Nitin, if I may call him that, when he interviewed me at the sidelines of the momentous visit by President Marcos and a majority of the members of his cabinet, me included, to India earlier this year, where we inaugurated our comprehensive partnership. Might I say, though, that it is comprehensive in name, but strategic in its moorings and its nature. And in this visit, President Marcos stated that we approach the forging of such relationships with great deliberation, less of caution, but more of adherence to very high standards of mutual and strategic trust, of common cause, of clear alignment of interests, and indeed of a track record of being responsible players in the international arena and the global commons. India has emerged as one of the countries with which the Philippines finds these sterling qualities. I had the honor once again of meeting my esteemed counterpart, the Honorable Rajnath Singh, during the ADMM Plus just the other day. And I publicly stated during my intervention in the ADMM Plus that in contrast with one country's behavior, India is a paradigm of what we should aspire to if we become a power in its observance of international law. And I cited the fact that India entered into an arbitration with a much smaller country. Though the outcome was not to India's liking, it complied with the arbitral ruling to the letter, unhesitatingly and willingly. And this kind of spirit and behavior of a power is one that every country that evolves into a power should aspire to copy. And those that are major powers should have the humility to take a look at and perhaps guide their future actions accordingly. Our relationship is a greenfield one, though it is way, way too late. Yeah, our person-to-person relationships, our shared culture, our shared history, pre-Philippines even, 400 years, before 400 years back, was already strong and robust. And thus this rediscovery by the Philippines has opened the floodgates of enthusiasm, optimism, and ambition for our shared goals, particularly for ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific and upholding international norms. We both rely on international norms to guarantee our security and our sovereignty. We both are steadfast adherents because we hope to be beneficiaries of UNCLOS, and we appreciate India's leadership towards, shall we say, cementing the applicability of UNCLOS in the international domain. We have had several maritime cooperative activities in the South China Sea as a way of trust and confidence building between and among our defense establishments. As you know, we were the first foreign recipients of the BrahMos system, of which adds considerably to our deterrent posture. But beyond this, beyond these granular items of cooperation, I view India's role as complementary and necessary for the resilience of the Indo-Pacific. And this area, to include Europe, to include the whole world, is interconnected, as we know. For the Philippines being an archipelagic country, a net importer of all the things that we need for daily life, with a huge population, with 20% of our territory being land and 80% water, we do need connectivity, we do need trade, we need to secure our supply chains. We need to cooperate with India on healthcare, on food security, on energy security, on connectivity, on disaster risk reduction and resilience. And we need India to help us bridge the gaps of our sources and destinations of our supply chains. And most importantly, we thank India for helping to secure the most valuable component of the Republic of the Philippines, our people. One in probably 3 or 4 vessels in any ocean in the world has Filipino seafarers. And they have been most victimized with crimes at sea and other state and non-state sponsored actions at sea. Most recently by the Houthis hostage several Filipinos. And in this, India has been at the forefront of helping secure our people in the Indian Ocean, for which we are very thankful. But deeper to that, we had a review of the systems that you use to ensure your resilience, to ensure strategic autonomy, of which the Philippines are avid students. I've had exchanges with Nitin. I've had the honor of connecting with Ambassador Vijay Gokhale, who will give us several pointers on how to deal with adversaries on the negotiating table. I have had the honor, of course, of meeting an esteemed counterpart, aside from Prime Minister Modi and Her Excellency the President, Minister Jai Shankar several times, and he has given us several pearls of wisdom to work with. My staff now and I are reviewing Kautilyan politics for a whole gamut from the India way, Bharat India, which we are discovering a new dimension and a new atmosphere for us, where we realize the need to further converge because there are lessons to be learned and experiences to be shared. We are also reviewing the RAW of India and its interconnection with strengthening the country, the vital moorings of a country for resilience, and the vast amount of interconnectivity between strategic necessities to industry, to physical security, to digital security, to healthcare, and the rest of the elements that we need to put into place to have a resilient archipelago. We also are fascinated by how the BJP, for example, has structured its politics to ensure continuity in the application and operation, which is the hardest to put into place, operation of a strategic plan for India's rise economically, India's rise socially, India's rise while preserving and protecting its interests. And so with India, the Philippines must be, of course, perhaps not to the same degree as India is, but we must be resilient in order to stand our ground. And if a country cannot stand its ground, hold steadfast to its principles, once we share democracy, free speech, freedom of navigation, and appease a bully, then one's moorings will become unleashed and lost in the seas of time. And it will be a disservice to the future generations of one's country if one's leadership were to fall down the easier path of appeasement. And in this, India's example is a sterling example on how we should hold fast our own national resilience, our own projections in the international community. And both India, the Philippines, and other like-minded partners go forth to resist attempts to redefine the world order towards the selfish agenda of irresponsible large powers. And I believe India shall be at the forefront of a principled collective movement towards resisting these unilateral attempts to justify oppression, to justify expansionism, to justify, shall we say, a monopolitical cultural imposition on the people and on the world to justify a political or a personal end. This is a very dangerous phenomenon which, if left uncalled out, will continue to perpetuate and may be accepted tragically as a norm in the future. We hope to converge in several other areas. And it is my job now on the defense ecosystem, given the opening floodgates of interest, to put some structure and to put discipline into the engagement so that our partnerships become enduring, principled, sustainable, and governable. We have been reliable partners for the past 75 years. I'm optimistic that both bilateral and multilateral engagements will converge, not only by necessity, but more so by choice, because it is a freedom that we both have the luxury of enjoying at this time if we fight for an international system that will guarantee respect for the choices that not only we make as officials, not only you make as influential members of the Indian society, but a normal person, an ordinary person, can make. And I'm so inspired by the story of your president, how she was able to overcome adversity and difficulty, and how a society was able to allow talent to be developed, talent to be developed not only insofar as personal development is concerned, but developed for leadership, developed for a living symbol of equality, egalitarianism in a society, and a living tribute to what India has become in today's day and age. As I am facing a crowd of distinguished defense and military officials, colleagues, I would like to end my remarks by referencing a respected person, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. In particular, I would like to echo the important distinction he made between individual morality and actions of the state. In the words of his biographer, Mahesh Dutt Sharma, and I quote, "When an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, both action and reaction continue for some time between two opposing societies or their respective kingdoms. Both begin to act more cautiously. Both states go on to save themselves from being blind or toothless. Thus, the eyes and teeth are better protected. And over time, both realize that there is no benefit in hitting the other's eye or breaking his teeth. In short, mutual power creates mutual resistance over time and leads to lasting peace." In this spirit, I would like to thank our partners in India for helping us bolster our defense capabilities and for serving as an inspiration on how to stand up to a bully. Looking ahead, I'm hopeful that the Philippines and India, and most specifically together with our other partners, can maintain the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific and the world, for that matter, and uphold the principles that underpin our rules-based order. Thank you very much, and I wish you all success. And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you individually, if not in India, but you are most welcome to come to the Philippines in the future. Mabuhay po. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Mr. Teodoro, for those valuable insights and for the reminder of the freedom both the nations are privileged to have. Thank you so much for that. And now let's move on to the inaugural address, someone who has always stood by our side, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh Kumar Tripathi. Can I have a round of applause for him, please?
Check. Yeah. Okay. Her Excellency Maheshini Kalone, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to India, Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria, our former Chief of Air Staff, General Manoj Pandey, our former Chief of Army Staff, Shri Baba Kalyani, sitting on the stage, CMD of Kalyani Group, Mr. Nitin Gokhale, Editor-in-Chief of BharatShakti, senior leaders from the Defence Forces and the Government of India, which includes, and I can see some of them sitting here, both serving and retired. General Raj Shukla is here, member UPSC. Our DGCG, Parmesh Shivamani is here. And I see Vice Admiral R.V. Pandit, the Chief SPS. Eminent members from the academia and industry, defense attachés who have been a common presence for the last 10 years in the journey of this conclave, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It was wonderful to hear Mr. Baba Kalyani, who I'm sure all of you know, always speaks from his heart. Air Vice Marshal Sampath Konta, Defense Secretary of Sri Lanka, whom I had the privilege to interact with during my visit to Colombo last month, and Mr. Gilbert Theodoro Jr., Secretary of the National Defense of Philippines, whom we just heard and who spoke so passionately. It's always a pleasure to attend the India Defence Conclave organized by BharatShakti, and I am indeed privileged to deliver the inaugural address for its milestone 10th edition, hosted at the iconic Constitution Club of India. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Mr. Nitin Gokhale and his team for what you have achieved in the past decade. It is due to your relentless pursuit of excellence that over the years, India Defence Conclave has evolved from a national dialogue into a truly global platform, bridging the worlds of policy, industry, innovation, and intellect towards the larger good. I have no doubt you would have grown by leaps and bounds in the next 2 decades when we as a country become the Viksit Bharat, which is our collective dream and belief. As we celebrate 10 years of this forum's evolution, this edition offers an opportunity not only to reflect, but also to reimagine and translate our collective thoughts into purposeful actions. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at an inflection point where technology, trade, and tensions are converging faster than ever before. This accelerated interdependence may be generating a strategic flux far more dynamic than the pace at which institutions and norms can adapt. In this evolving landscape, we witness the growing relevance of two seemingly contrasting but deeply complementary dynamics. On one hand, it is neo-localism, a renewed emphasis on rooted capability and indigenous strength. And on the other, globalization. I'm sure some of you must know a concept articulated by sociologist Roland Robertson, emphasizing the fusion of local depth and global engagement. Highlighting this paradigm, our Honorable Raksha Mantri recently observed that, and I quote, "In the times ahead, the nation that masters the triangle of technology, strategy, and adaptability will emerge as the true global power," unquote. This strategic triad calls for an approach that is grounded yet global in outlook, sovereign yet interconnected. Against this backdrop, the theme of this year's conclave, Future Forward, Building Global Partnerships and Indigenous Strength, is both timely and forward-looking. It recognizes that the strategic calculus of our era is defined not by choosing between outward engagement and inner resilience, but by mastering their interplay. For India, these two sides, indigenous strength and global partnerships, are not opposing choices, but mutually reinforcing imperatives and part of a single strategic continuum. As our Honorable Prime Minister has articulated, and I quote again, "For peace, stability, and prosperity in the world, India must become self-reliant. Chips or ships, we must make them in India," unquote. This vision reflects the reality that a confident and capable India contributes to a more stable and secure world. In that spirit, I would like to talk about the pillar of indigenous strength first, the very foundation of strategic autonomy, national resilience, and operational confidence in enabling trusted cooperation at global level. Today, indigenous strength extends far beyond the battlefields. It is now enmeshed with industrial ecosystems, innovation chains, and information networks, where semiconductors can be as decisive as submarines, and secure data links matter as much as secure sea lanes. In my view, three enablers anchor this strength: self-reliance, synergy, and security, each reinforcing the other and together defining the future. From an Indian perspective, self-reliance or Atmanirbharta today is moving beyond Make in India to Trust in India, sovereign competence rooted in iterative design, technological ownership, and mission-ready delivery. Nowhere is this more visible than in the defense sector. India's defense production has more than tripled over the last decade and crossed over 1.5 lakh crore rupees last year. Indian Navy, on its part, has embraced Atmanirbharta not only as a strategic imperative, but also as an investment towards future assurance. We have progressively strengthened our Warship Design Bureau, deepened industry partnerships, and accelerated innovation in concert with MSMEs, startups, and academia, building sovereign capabilities across the maritime domain. Due to these efforts, today, 19 shipyards in the country are capacity cleared for defense shipbuilding. And on an average, one new indigenous warship or submarine is being added to the Indian Navy every 40 days. As we look to become a 200-plus ship Navy by 2035, all of our 52 ships presently on order are being built in Indian shipyards. Moving beyond platforms, our aim is to take Atmanirbharta to component level and build a fully Atmanirbhar force by 2047. Yet, strength from self-reliance in isolation is insufficient. It must be amplified by synergy and shared purpose. In contemporary security ecosystems, strength no longer resides in siloed excellence, but in integrated competence, where capabilities, people, and processes align as a coherent force. Advantage belongs to nations that dissolve boundaries between services, industry, and academia and convert individual proficiency into collective power. India's emerging maritime sector is a shining example of how strong synergy among all stakeholders and across strata can drive domestic capability and capacity. From unified port-led development to digital systems that knit together trade, transport, and technology, this coordinated maritime momentum is advancing India's rise despite turbulent tides. This national experience underscores a deeper tenet that true synergy must operate both vertically and horizontally, aligning research with needs, industry with capability development, and operators with the teams that design and build their tools. For the Indian Navy, this translates to working as one maritime enterprise with sister services, maritime agencies, and industrial partners to create seamless operational and technological solutions. Just for example, the National Maritime Domain Awareness or NMDA project being steered by the Navy, our Navy, all Indians Navy, will link all maritime stakeholders, including about 7 government ministries and over 15 national agencies. Self-reliance and synergy finds its fullest expression towards indigenous strength when it translates into credible, continuous security for our nation as well as for the region. Indigenous strength ultimately derives its meaning from security, the ability to deter aggression, safeguard national interests, and uphold a stable, rules-based order. At its core, security is where industrial effort, operational readiness, and strategic foresight converge. For a maritime nation like ours, this means persistent presence, credible capability, and rapid response across the region, with missions ranging from deterrence and crisis management to humanitarian assistance and disaster relief at scale. As the principal manifestation of India's maritime power, the Indian Navy remains mission deployed and combat ready over expanded geographies for extended periods of time, displaying poise and preparedness to respond to any emerging scenario, to maintain order and peace in the global commons, especially in the Indian Ocean region. Our forward deployed units, the true ambassadors of India's indigenous strength, not only safeguard our national interests, but also uphold stability as the first responder and preferred security partner across the region. With this, let me turn to the second pillar, which is the partnership. Today, this ethos finds expression in inclusive vision, Mahasagar, or mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. Evolving from Sagar, which was coined 10 years back in 2015, which is, as you all know by now, security and growth for all in the region, and also means sea for our foreign partners, to the elevated vision of Mahasagar, which means ocean. This signifies both expansion of scope and depth of purpose in our engagements. At sea, the Indian Navy has operationalized the approach through trust, transparency, and concrete steps involving coordinated patrols and surveillance missions maritime domain awareness initiatives, humanitarian assistance and rescue missions, and exercises that deepen trust and interoperability. In moments of crisis and contingencies, be it cyclones, pandemics, or maritime disruptions, our actions have demonstrated that credible capability can deliver collective good. At the same time, we are actively supporting functional groupings and frameworks founded on issue-based convergences like IPOI, IORA, IONS, and BIMSTEC, just to name a few, to generate solutions calibrated to regional realities and partner priorities. As we assume the chair of IONS and command responsibilities within the CMF next year, we will work to deepen information sharing and collective maritime response. We also look forward to advancing this cooperative spirit during Milan 2026, which will be held in Vizag in February, where more than 55 global navies are likely to converge in India to strengthen shared readiness and mutual trust. Looking ahead, our partnerships must move beyond cooperative coexistence to what scholars call as collaborative resilience, a system state in which capability and shared purpose enable us not only to survive shocks, but to transform them as launch pads for further growth. This will involve building institutional linkages, industrial networks, and interoperable frameworks that absorb disruption, adapt to change, and enhance regional resilience together across the region. As we advance towards our vision of becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047, partnerships for us would never be alignment of convenience, but remain a convergence of purpose and principle. Our endeavor would be to translate indigenous strength and purposeful partnerships to nurture a region that is free, open, inclusive, and rules-based, not by circumstance, but by collective choice and sustained commitment. After all, future belongs to societies that learn continuously and cooperate deliberately. Let me conclude by a quote widely attributed to Peter Drucker, and I quote, "The best way to predict the future is to create it," unquote. By fostering informed discourse and trusted collaboration, forums like the India Defence Conclave help build the foundations of such a promising future. As we set the ball rolling for an engaging day of dialogue and discussions, I wish the conclave every success. May the 10th edition of India Defence Conclave inspire new ideas, unlock new collaborations, and reinforce our collective resolve to build a secure, resilient, and prosperous shared future. Before concluding, I would like to thank once again Mr. Nitin Gokhale for affording me this opportunity. I wish BharatShakti all the very best. Skyrocketing growth. See you in 2047. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patient listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the inaugural address. And with that, we have come to the end of the inaugural session of the 10th India Defence Conclave. I request Mr. Nitin Gokhale to present mementos to our dignitaries on stage. A memento to the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Tripathi. To Shri Baba Kalyani, Chairman and Managing Director, Kalyani Group. Nitin, I would also like to inform you that the CNS also has something for you before we huddle for the photograph. Thank you so much. And now I request the three of you to please have a photograph together. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a short break for tea, which is laid out in the exhibition area outside, near kiosks 12 and 13. That's Skytail and Shiva Texian. We have ensured that the kiosks get footfall from everyone, the VIPs and the delegates. Please grab your cups, and I will see you back here in 20 minutes. Thank you so much.